The, the derogatory shout echoed through the horizon, scaring the birds from the tall grass around the lakes. Scootaloo stared at the two fillies in tearful rage. The only thing that broke the dead silence was another rumble of thunder. "Just leave me alone," Scootaloo sobbed, running away. The little Pegasus climbed out of the beach and into the main road. She got as far as Ponyville's main street before a river of tears began to run from her eyes. But she never looked back. This was the end. Not because she wanted it, but because it needed to be done. But however right it felt, it didn't take away the painful stinging in her heart. Scootaloo earned her cutie mark, but lost her friends. The chorus of thunder rained from the sky with increasing intensity, followed by the pounding of raindrops. Both Applebloom and Sweetie Belle sat in the sand with their heads lowered. Neither one of them spoke, just a few quiet sobs amongst themselves. With another rumble of thunder echoing across the sky, Sweetie Belle decided to get up and climb the hill. "Sweetie Belle, where are you going?" Applebloom cried out. Wiping the tears from her eyes, Sweetie Belle looked back with a warm smile. Applebloom's amber eyes widened in shock at the sight of the purple energy gathering at the tip of the light unicorn's horn. "I'm going to get our friend back." The rain had intensified with a steady shower that formed puddles along the main streets of Ponyville. After leaving the lake, Scootaloo had broken into a full gallop, crying to herself the whole way. All she wanted were things to go back to the way they were before. More adventures, more schemes, the feeling of belonging somewhere. The thought of going back to make amends with her friends took up too much of the orange filly's attention, causing her to trip and fall. Scootaloo lied in the middle of the street, crying into her hooves and cursing her stubbornness, and wishing that she never got her cutie mark. "Look here, our 3 little ponies, ready to sing for this crowd." Scootaloo looked up but couldn't find the source of the singing. But she noticed a mysterious spotlight shining down on the blanket of purple fog around her. The little Pegasus sat up on her hunches, with her eyes closed and her head lowering, still sniffling. "Listen up, 'cause here's our story. We're gonna sing it." Scootaloo smiled to herself over the very nostalgic warmth of the verses carried. One final tear ran down her cheeks as she threw her head back and shouted off key, "Very loud!" "Wow, we really need to work on that song," a cracking voice giggled. Scootaloo tracked down the source, seeing both Applebloom and Sweetie Belle emerging from the mist approaching her. "I guess I wasn't meant to be a singer," Scootaloo said sarcastically, smiling at the two fillies before lowering her head again. "But that doesn't matter anymore, does it?" "It depends on what you think is really important," Sweetie Belle replied vaguely. The unicorn clenched her eyes shut and strained gathered the sparks of light purple energy at the tip of her horn. Applebloom and Scootaloo looked at the mist quickly dispensing, and the mysterious spotlight shining down on them fading. The energy fizzled out on Sweetie Belle's horn as she dizzily plopped down into a sitting position. "I still need practice," the unicorn said, stroking her temples and fluttering her eyes. Scootaloo looked over at Applebloom, who simply shrugged her shoulders. "Since when could you do that?" Scootaloo asked. "Since I got this." Sweetie Belle dipped her hoof in a nearby puddle and began scrubbing her flank. After a few moments, the powder-like substance began to rub off, revealing the light purple heart wrapped in a ribbon like a musical score. Applebloom scratched the back of her neck, looking at Sweetie Belle. "So, that mysterious light that pulled Scootaloo out of the water?" Applebloom began to ask. Sweetie Belle nodded before looking down, digging the front of her hoof in the ground, embarrassed. "Rarity told me unicorns can't use magic until they find their special talent," the white unicorn revealed. "So I borrowed my sister's waterproof makeup to hide my cutie mark and keep my magic a secret. I didn't want you guys to be jealous." "You too? I can't believe it," Apple Bloom sighed heavily, putting her hoof up on her face. Both Sweetie Belle and Scootaloo exchanged glances in concern for their Earth Pony friend. Don't worry, Apple Bloom. We'll help you get your cutie mark, Sweetie Belle said, giving Scootaloo a quick poke in the side. Yeah, there's plenty of stuff we haven't tried yet, the Pegasus added, approaching the yellow filly to console her. Suddenly, Apple Bloom began to giggle to herself until she broke out into a full laugh. Scootaloo looked back to Sweetie Belle, who simply reacted by tilting her head to at their friend's reaction. Once Apple Bloom managed to regain her composure, she wet her tail in a puddle of water and scrubbed up the layer of paint on her flank to reveal an abstractly painted apple surrounded by a decorative picture frame. Sweetie Belle applauded at the revealed cutie mark, but Scootaloo turned away in discomfort and sat down. Both Apple Bloom and Sweetie Belle ended their celebration and approached the sad-looking Pegasus. I'm sorry about earlier, Scootaloo said, too upset to look at the two Crusaders. I was so afraid that you didn't want to be my friend anymore after I already got my cutie mark. I thought if I broke up our friendship myself... Scootaloo turned her head away, sobbing. It wouldn't hurt so much. Scootaloo clenched her eyes shut, trying to hold back the tears, but felt two bodies press against her sides and around her neck. She looked down to see both Apple Bloom and Sweetie Belle hugging her tightly. It's okay, Scootaloo. We know you didn't mean it. Sweetie Belle answered back, smiling tearfully. Look how much we care about each other. We all hit our cutie marks to spare each other's feelings. Apple Bloom buried her face in the orange filly's coat. It just goes to show we're best friends through and through. Ain't nothing gonna take that away. The misty-eyed Scootaloo smiled and put her forelegs around the two fillies. Friends forever. Apple Bloom looked back after realization hit her. But what are we gonna do now? Upon the Earth filly's realization, Sweetie Belle broke out of the embrace too. Yeah, we got our cutie marks. We can't be the cutie mark Crusaders, can we? Scootaloo frowned for a moment, but her eyes instantly popped open as if a light bulb appeared over her head. She gave her two fillies a sly smile, usually indicating a plan in its works. Don't worry, girls. I got it covered. Apple Bloom sat in the treehouse looking at the orange canvas, happily humming to herself. She stopped for a moment to reach her forehooves out and closed her eyes in an attempt to mentally frame the picture. The filly tilted her head slightly, smiling and used her mouth to pull a small paintbrush out of its nearby jar to make a few precise strokes on a picture and stood back again, squinting. Finally satisfied, Apple Bloom walked back to the jar and replaced the brush. Hey, Apple Bloom, are you in there? A cracking voice called out. The treehouse door creaked open as Sweetie Belle entered, looking around and gasped at the sight of their base. A paint-stained tarp took up a majority of the room, with several open jars scattered all over the table. It didn't look like much of a base anymore. It looked like a studio of a crazed artist. Apple Bloom! We need to clean this up. Some pony could be here any minute, Sweetie Belle whined. The unicorn concentrated on and began levitating the resealing the painting jars from the table, blanketing in a light purple haze. Sorry about that, but I'm just about done, Apple Bloom replied, still staring at the canvas and waving a forelong out in a disregarding manner. Sweetie Belle sent the paint jars to rest on the nearby shelf and began approaching her friend while magically sending a collection of dirty paintbrushes into a bucket in the corner. Almost done with... Wow! The unicorn almost dropped the bundle of brushes in astonishment. but regained her concentration in just enough time. Is that what I think it is? Sweetie Belle asked with wide green eyes. Yep. I wanted to paint a memory of the day, but I never got around to it, Apple Bloom answered, still admiring the canvas, at least till now. It's beautiful, Sweetie Belle replied, her eyes locking on the image. She completely dismissed the idea of cleaning and silently took a seat next to Apple Bloom. The silence was broken, however, by the treehouse door slamming open and Scootaloo standing in the doorway. So, I posted a few ads around town, and it's only a matter of time before... Hey, what happened here? We need to clean this up before... Whoa. Scootaloo trailed off after her eyes made contact with Apple Bloom's work. The orange filly lost her entire train of thought and simply walked down to sit with Apple Bloom and Sweetie Belle, staring at the painting. Apple Bloom, is that from... Yep. It's beautiful. Starry-eyed, the three fillies continued to stare at the painting of their one last, most cherished memory. A stylized painting of an orange Pegasus with a purple mane, a yellow earth pony with a red mane, and a white unicorn with a light purple mane. Light pinky mane embracing each other in rain. Unlike other memories they may have had since their Cutie Mark Crusaders were formed, this was the most meaningful. Not just because it was the day the three of them found out they already had their Cutie Marks. It was the day they found something more important than their special talent. Their friendship. Is this where we come to get our Cutie Marks? Scootaloo, Apple Bloom, and Sweetie Belle simultaneously looked up to see an eerily familiar sight. Three ponies, only a couple years younger than them, were standing in their doorway looking around sheepishly. Sweetie Belle and Apple Bloom both looked at Scootaloo as she got up and approached the three young ponies, smiling warmly. Yeah, this is the place. Welcome to the Cutie Mark Crusaders. Well, that was the end of Once a Crusader, every pony. I'll see you next time with another story. Thanks for listening.